Barcelona, 5 days of running and the first real look at Formula One's 2026 revolution. On paper, Lewis Hamilton was fastest of the week with a 1:16.348 in the Ferrari. Mercedes racked up 500 laps with its brand new W17. Red Bull's first in-house power unit survived its first big exam, and Aston Martin finally rolled out Adrian Newey's radical first design for Fernando Alonso. But here's the catch. In a private shakedown like this, lap times are almost meaningless. No one is showing their true hand, fuel loads are all over the place, and many cars will already change before Bahrain. So, in this video, we'll go team by team through Barcelona's shakedown, separating the real signals from the noise and asking the only question that really matters at this stage. Who's actually ready for 2026 and who's already on the back foot?
Before we dive into each team, a quick reminder of what this Barcelona test actually was. For 2026, Formula One has completely overhauled its rules. Cars are very different, and the power units rely much more on a powerful MGUK electric system. Teams were so nervous about this new hybrid package, they asked for an extra shakedown on top of the usual 2-3-day tests in Bahrain. Barcelona was run behind closed doors, primarily to check basic systems, reliability, and integration between chassis and engine. Each team was allowed to pick 3 days out of 5. The goal wasn't performance runs, glory laps, or headline times. The goal was simple: make sure the cars work, rack up laps, and bring as much data as possible to Bahrain. With that in mind, let's go team by team. Let's start with McLaren, who completed 291 laps. They delayed the debut of their MCL40 until Wednesday, which meant a compressed schedule with 3 consecutive days of running. Day 2 was disrupted by a fuel system issue that limited Oscar Piastri to just 48 laps, but both Piastri and world champion Lando Norris logged more than 80 laps each on Friday. That's less mileage than Mercedes, but there are no signs of any major showstoppers in Woking. The most interesting part, McLaren openly admitted on Friday night that they still have a lot of work to do to really understand the new power units, especially how to drive and set up the car around a much more powerful MGUK system. That's probably true for almost everyone, but it was an unusually honest and transparent statement from a top team. At this stage, McLaren looks solid, but still adjusting to the complexity of 2026.
Next up, Mercedes, and this is where the numbers get serious. Across Monday, Tuesday and Thursday, George Russell and Andrea Kimi Antonelli stacked up 500 laps. For a car that was built from a clean sheet of paper under all new regulations, that's a huge achievement. Apart from a few minor gremlins, the W17 ran like clockwork. Mercedes even managed an early race simulation on Wednesday and a few qualifying-style runs on Thursday. Of course, reliability doesn't automatically mean they're fast, but both Russell and Antonelli have visibly positive body language. As far as a calibration and shakedown week goes, it genuinely couldn't have gone much better for the Silver Arrows. Trackside engineering director Andrew Shovlin summed it up. It's been really impressive from a reliability point of view. All new systems on the car, and they've worked brilliantly. We've basically ticked all our objectives for these first 2 tests. In Bahrain, we'll move more towards setup exploration and finding the right window. Mercedes leaves Barcelona as the reference for mileage.
Now Red Bull and their first big week with an in-house power unit. They completed 303 laps with the RB22 and the brand new Red Bull Ford powertrains package. Monday was a dream start, more than 100 laps straight out of the box and a special atmosphere in the garage for the team's first real outing with its own engine. Tuesday was more complicated. Isaac Hadjar crashed in the wet, spinning into the wall out of the final corner, which forced Red Bull to fly in extra parts from Milton Keynes just to get Max Verstappen back on track for Friday. But Verstappen then closed the week strongly with 118 laps on the final day, meaning Red Bull leaves Barcelona with a very healthy haul of data. Their sister team, Racing Bulls, also ran similar mileage, giving Red Bull Ford a large combined data set to analyse. Team principal Laurent Mekies said he's proud of what the power unit department delivered so early, but emphasised it's still very early days and nothing is perfect yet. The headline: for a brand new manufacturer, this was a quietly impressive start.
On to Ferrari. With 444 laps for the team, and almost 1,000 laps when you add up all Ferrari power units across the grid. They started and finished a day later than Mercedes, and unlike some rivals, Ferrari chose to run in the rain on Tuesday. But when Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton got dry running on Thursday and Friday, both sounded much more positive than they did 12 months ago. Unofficially, Hamilton set the fastest time of the test on Friday afternoon, a 1:16.348. And again, it cannot be stressed enough, Barcelona lap times at this stage are devoid of real meaning. Fuel loads, power modes, tyre choices, everything is unknown. But what does matter is this: Ferrari's new car ran cleanly, its engines accumulated almost 1,000 laps, and there were no major reliability scares. Team boss Fred Vasseur called it a long but productive week, with different conditions from wet to dry and significant mileage every day. He also made it clear the real judgment will only start in Bahrain, with more representative conditions and more evolved specifications. Still, as a first step into 2026, Ferrari looks calm, organized, and quietly encouraged. From big mileage to no mileage at all, Williams didn't run a single lap in Barcelona. They didn't even turn up. In trying to push every component through production, Williams simply stretched itself too far and missed the deadline. Team principal James Vowles admitted they could have made the shakedown if it was absolutely critical, but that would have left the team dangerously exposed on spare parts for Bahrain, Melbourne, and beyond. Given how painful the start of 2024 was, Vowles chose not to repeat that mistake. Instead, Williams doubled down on the simulator and virtual track testing for Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon. The downside is clear: they've missed out on hundreds of real laps that other teams have already used to chase out early gremlins. The one silver lining? Williams is using Mercedes power units and gearbox, which have clearly been shaken down successfully by Mercedes and its other customer teams. It's an early setback, yes, but it doesn't say anything yet about the true performance of the FW48. With 6 full days in Bahrain, Williams still has a chance to reset. They just can't afford many more delays. Racing Bulls was one of the quiet success stories of the week. They completed 319 laps, and like Mercedes, they got all their running done by Thursday evening, just skipping the rain-affected Tuesday. It was a clean and efficient program for the Anglo-Italian team, which, like Red Bull, was running the all-new Red Bull Ford power unit. Rookie Arvid Lindblad, the only rookie on the 2026 grid, logged 167 laps as he starts his F1 education. Liam Lawson matched that with a similar tally, even though both had minor issues that caused one red flag each. Chief Technical Officer Tim Goss called it really successful and praised Red Bull Ford's reliability on its very first proper week in Formula One. For a junior team, Racing Bulls did exactly what they needed to do: build mileage, build confidence, and stay out of trouble. Now to one of the most anticipated cars of the year, Aston Martin. They had to fight just to make it to Barcelona at all, chartering an old cargo propeller plane on Wednesday to fly the AMR 26 out. Such was the hype around Adrian Newey's first Aston design for Fernando Alonso. Aston spent most of Thursday simply getting the car ready and managed only a very short run, with Lance Stroll completing just 5 laps before parking it. Friday was more productive. Alonso got 61 laps under his belt, and the car drew huge attention in the pit lane for a design that looks radically different in several areas compared to its rivals. But with only 65 laps in total, there's only so much Aston can have actually learnt in Barcelona. As the only team running Honda's 2026 engine, they're slightly behind the curve in exploring power modes and deployment. Alonso called it very special. Newey's first car, Honda, Aramco, and all new rules, with the team just about making it in time. The big question remains: does different actually mean fast or just complicated?
Haas had a mixed but ultimately positive week. Their new VF26 started strongly on Monday, but then disappeared into the garage for large parts of Wednesday, with one minor and one more serious reliability issue on the car side. Those issues were serious enough that Haas had to fly in replacement parts and fit them overnight. The good news: they nailed the turnaround. On Friday, Oliver Bearman alone completed over 100 laps in the morning, and Esteban Ocon continued that productive day in the afternoon. In the end, 391 laps is a job well done for a team in Haas's position. Team boss Ayao Komatsu praised the team for turning the car around quickly and following the program, saying it wasn't just about quantity of laps, but also about quality of data to feed into Bahrain. It's not a headline-grabbing week, but it's exactly the kind of solid foundation Haas needed.
For Audi, the other brand new power unit manufacturer, Barcelona was always going to be a learning exercise. They completed 243 laps, but the first couple of days were clearly rough. Gabriel Bortoleto and Nico Hülkenberg were both held under 100 laps early on, and they caused several red flags with the new R26 package. We don't know every detail, this test was confidential, but Audi admitted that several of the biggest pain points were on the power unit side. Unlike Red Bull Ford, Audi doesn't have any customer teams, so every problem on their works car directly limits how much mileage they can get on that first ever Audi F1 engine. That's why the final day was so important. Bortoleto and Hülkenberg combined for 148 laps, bringing Audi's total to a respectable 243. Technical director James Key said they always knew it wouldn't be a flawless week, but that all the early issues were understood and fixable. The focus here was never performance. It was about validating fundamentals and making sure core systems work. Audi leaves Barcelona with a solid base, but clearly with more work to do than Red Bull Ford.
Alpine came to Barcelona with a lot to prove after effectively sacrificing last season to focus on 2026. They've ditched their own Renault engine and now run a Mercedes power unit and gearbox. Fresh from an eye-catching launch on an MSC cruise ship, Alpine arrived in Barcelona with quiet confidence that this reset would finally move them forward. The early days were a bit light on mileage, as you'd expect with a completely new car, but the team steadily ramped up through the week. On Friday, Pierre Gasly became a marathon man, logging 164 laps on his own, nearly half of Alpine's entire test mileage, which ended on 349 laps. Managing director Steve Nielsen said nothing came as a surprise, but there's no substitute for doing it on track. He was satisfied that the team hit its lap count targets. Compared to 12 months ago, Alpine looks in a much better place, but whether that translates into points in 2026 still depends on how much performance they can unlock from this new baseline.
Finally, Cadillac, Formula One's first true startup team in a decade. Just making it to Barcelona was a big milestone. They rolled out on Monday morning, and Valtteri Bottas and Sergio Perez added more mileage on Thursday and Friday to reach 164 laps. It wasn't trouble-free, as you'd expect, but in context, this was a very encouraging first real week. The team benefited from a good start with its Ferrari power units and, more importantly, began to function as a proper F1 organization. Team principal Graham Loden said he was really happy with how things went, reminding everyone that this was only day 4 of the team running a Formula One car. Procedures, communication, and operations improved every day, and Cadillac now heads to Bahrain with a positive mindset, fully aware that the real performance questions are still unanswered.
So, what can we actually take away from Barcelona? Mercedes is the clear benchmark for reliability and mileage, with 500 laps on the W15 and over 1,100 for its power units overall. Ferrari and Hamilton grabbed the unofficial headline time, and Ferrari's engine package looked strong across all its teams. Red Bull and Racing Bulls gave Red Bull Ford a very encouraging first outing as a new manufacturer. Aston Martin and Audi showed potential but also vulnerability, with limited running or early PU issues to iron out. Haas, Alpine and McLaren sit in that middle ground. Solid mileage, decent foundations, but still a lot of work ahead to fully exploit the 2026 rules. Cadillac did what a startup needs to do: be there, run, learn, and behave like a serious F1 operation from day one. And Williams didn't run at all, trading early laps for a more secure launch in Bahrain. The key message: Barcelona was never about who's fastest, it was about who's ready. The picture will change again in Bahrain, with longer runs, hotter conditions, and more evolved cars on track. But from what we've seen so far, Mercedes, Ferrari, and Red Bull Ford all look well positioned for the first real fight of the 2026 era. Let me know in the comments which team impressed you the most in Barcelona, and who do you think is hiding the most performance before Bahrain?